Breaking news, the man accused of shooting two National Guard members just blocks from the White House last week has pled not guilty. Rahmanullah Lakanwal appearing in court virtually from his hospital bed over the last 90 minutes. You'll remember he too was shot in this attack. He was formally charged with murder and other charges. The U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, speaking moments ago.
I think anyone about whom we know nothing, and make no mistake, there's no vetting, and the fact that we don't have a rap sheet on this guy as if he was born in the Bronx or in the district should tell us that, he is clean. We have no idea who he is. He has no connections to the community. The crime is one that we believe we will be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
All right, we've got National Trial Attorney Madeline Summerville joining us here with more. Madeline, good to see you. We've gotten some of the more of the details as to what exactly led up to this ambush, which is what authorities are calling this. And it seems as though the suspect here shouting Allahu Akbar before shooting that Guards member in the back of the head, and then fire was also returned by another National Guards member who was able to finally stop this ambush. But he did shoot two people, wounding one critically and murdering another one. What do you make of the latest here following these court documents and what we've learned today?
Yeah, hey there. Thanks, Marina. So I think it's interesting that we're hearing different reporting from different places, from typically reliable sources, right? I have seen reporting that didn't mention the assailant yelling Allahu Akbar at all, right? And in a lot of cases, people are thinking that this was a specifically targeted shooting, like perhaps he knew the people that he had shot at. And I think here, the only thing that we know for sure, though, actually, is the opposite of what Attorney Jeanine Pirro just said. Actually, he had worked with the CIA, specifically in Operation Allies in Afghanistan. Yes, he was part of a group of people that came from Afghanistan in that picture that President Trump is showing people, where people were clamoring to get on a plane. But he had been working with American soldiers specifically and was vetted by the CIA. And not only was he granted asylum, he was granted asylum under the Trump administration. So there's a lot here that's not coming out, and it's uncomfortable because there's so many different stories that we're hearing, but those things that I just told you, those are the things we know for sure.
What we do know for sure is that on video, this man was seen running behind these National Guards members with a gun. I would imagine to swear on an affidavit that someone shouted something, there should be probable cause to show him shouting that, or at least have eyewitnesses who heard this.
Certainly, absolutely, and I think that they will have zero problem whatsoever establishing that this was the person that did it. The motive, however, is a different one to be able to prove, and I think that that's where the distinction is coming in terms of the differences in the reporting.
And I think the motive, at least what we know right now, has been qualified as an ambush, given the facts of the case as we know them right now. And I'm sure much more will come as we get investigations as to how exactly this man transported himself from Washington State into Washington, D.C., how long, if any at all, he'd been planning this, his mental state, and if anything changed from the time he came to the country, from then in the 5 years he's been here until now, what has shifted there. That'll come out. But what we know is it's been qualified as an ambush. I'm not sure anybody's really challenging that.
No, it's not being challenged that it was an ambush, as in it was a surprise. That doesn't mean that it wasn't still a target for a specific reason. We still need to know the reason why the ambush took place in the first place, right? Is it because he had difficulty and problems dealing with the Trump administration's decision to send in the National Guard, right? Is it because he was, as the administration is guessing, radicalized here because it was a religious motivation? We don't know the reason for the ambush. The ambush for sure took place.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, two conversations are happening here in parallel, Madeline, and I hear you. I think we know what the facts of the case are. I hear what Judge Jeanine Pirro is saying. But at the same time, there's also the political conversation, obviously, which I think is what you're trying to glean from the Trump administration, as there's the suppression right now of visas, of people, of Afghan nationals who have come in when he was vetted, when he came into and there's finger pointing as to which administration allowed it, et cetera. You know, I think what is fact right now is that this man allegedly murdered a National Guards member, and another one right now is fighting for their life. And what that motive is, regardless if it was religious, terrorist, or politically motivated, it was heinous, point blank.
Of course it was, but I do think that the motive is important regardless, because if what we're doing is we're trying to say what is the next action that we must take in order to prevent this from happening again, right? If in a lot of cases that I've seen before where there have been targeted shootings, just because I do premises liability litigation, a lot of times they know the person, right? And it couldn't have been stopped because it was a personal thing. Who knows what it was, right? The point is that you can't impute the actions of one person to the propensities of people in 19 different countries, right? To me, that is the definition of what it means to treat a race improperly, to treat an ethnicity improperly. So I for sure understand that regardless of what it was heinous and horrible, but that doesn't mean that people from an entirely different country who have nothing to do with it should be punished as a result.
I mean, and I think you could speak that of all and any suspects that commit a heinous crime. Not all men who shoot and kill mean that they're going to go out and shoot and kill because one man did so or from the race or et cetera. And we can have this conversation on and on. We've seen the Trump administration enact these stopgap measures immediate in response to this, like we saw the so-called Muslim travel ban in the first administration. That then changed. Yeah. These things all go to the court, and thankfully we do have checks and balances in this country so that one power does not have more than the other, and I'm sure the judicial will weigh in on this. Regardless, Madeline, thank you for your insight. DMV Zone back after this.